Hello and welcome to Beyond the Headlines. This is our weekly current affairs program where we take a look at issues which have been making the news and which need to be delved into more deeply. This evening, we're coming out of a couple of days of what has been a trying time for some of our friends, our neighbors in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Let me just explain that we had originally scheduled another program for discussion. This evening, we were going to look at COVID-19 and its impact on Grenadians in the diaspora. We did have a panel lined up, but unfortunately, the developments came to hand in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we needed to change course. And so we would have to postpone that discussion to Wednesday night. And so this evening, I am pleased to present our panelists, the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We're happy to welcome Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. Prime Minister, it is great to have you this evening, although under trying circumstances.
Thank you very much. I'm always happy to be with you.
All right. And we also have Mr. Colvin Harry. He's a program manager at NBC St. Vincent, Radio St. Vincent. Colvin, on Friday, I was trying to have a conversation with all that. No. I'm going to brief the Prime Minister. Colvin, I'm glad that you can at least breathe to talk to me this evening.
Thank you very much for having me this evening on your program.
Right, and we have Mr. Henry Joseph. He is the president of the Rotary Club of Grenada. Mr. Joseph, it's great to have you.
Thank you very much. It's greatly appreciated.
And Prime Minister Gonsalves is really happy to have a certain member of the panel to his right. That's why we say we save the best for last, but no, Grenada is we're happy to have him being based in St. Vincent. Superintendent Sylvan McIntyre, our dear superintendent who is always there in times of trouble. Superintendent, we know you're very tired, but it's great that you could make the time to talk to us and bring us up to speed. Welcome to Grenada from St. Vincent, right?
Thank you. Good evening to all your viewers and followers. And Dr. Gonsalves, once again, good evening to you, sir.
Spending a lot of time together.
A lot of time together, recently. No problem.
So, Superintendent Sylvan McIntyre, he's based in St. Vincent and the Grenadines at this time. So, Mr. Joseph, you're the only homebody with us this evening, and we're glad that you could keep us company and bring us up to speed with what the Rotary Club is doing. Let's begin tonight.
It means I'm special, eh?
Very, very. Let's begin tonight. We begin with Prime Minister Gonsalves because he has to leave us. As we can appreciate, he has a very tight schedule. But before we do that, let's lay the foundation and take a look at what has been happening in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have a report that was filed by Al Jazeera's Report 2, and we'll take that report and we come back to the discussions.
The lush Caribbean island of St. Vincent transformed into a grey, gloomy moonscape. Streets and buildings blanketed by ash spewed from a nearby volcano. La Soufrière ended decades of inactivity on Friday when it erupted in spectacular fashion. There were several earthquakes and a column of ash was pumped up to 15 kilometres into the air.
We don't know how much more is going to come out, but it is plenty. It's coming out.
And it's hampering the escape of thousands of people who are now in shelters across the island.
I am scared. I'm just hoping for the best so that everything can be over so I can go back home.
La Soufrière means sulphur outlet. It's the only potentially active volcano on St. Vincent, which is home to about 100,000 people. Ash from the eruptions rained down on several neighbouring islands, including Barbados, nearly 200 kilometres away. Countries including Venezuela, Cuba, Guyana and the United States are sending aid to the island nation. Cruise ships have been sent in to help those fleeing the eruption, but because of the pandemic, anyone going on board will have to be vaccinated, and everyone in a shelter will be tested for COVID-19.
This is the second time I'm experiencing the volcano. The first time it erupted, I was 9 years old.
There have been 5 explosive eruptions on St. Vincent in the past 300 years, the most recent in 1979. While there have been no deaths reported this time, an eruption in 1902 killed more than 1,000 people. But damage to crops and farms from the choking cloud of ash is expected to be severe.
We are agricultural-based community. And just if this is going to be for the next 3-4 months, life will be very difficult for people.
And experts say the eruption could continue for some time yet. Alexia.
Prime Minister Gonsalves, we have seen the devastation caused brought on to your island, and I'm certain you've needed a lot of coffee. 10 years ago, you were on a program here I was hosting, and I asked you how you liked your coffee. You remember what the answer was?
Yes, but I'm pleading the fifth tonight.
Prime Minister, I would like to offer you some coffee, probably virtually. You're pleading the fifth on me?
And I'll be happy to accept your coffee.
Okay, Mr. Prime Minister, I still remember that succinct answer. I was just shocked and stunned, but I think I made it to specifications. So, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm trying to get you to lighten up a little bit because I know it's been really tough for you. So tell us.
I appreciate it.
So how has it been in St. Vincent and the Grenadines for you as Prime Minister the last couple of days?
Well, it has been very hectic, very challenging, coming on the heels of a 1-year experience with the COVID pandemic and against the backdrop of certain pre-existing challenges for small island developing states like St. Vincent and Grenadines. The volcano began an effusive or oozing eruption late last year. And it continued in that vein until last week, when we had the explosive, the cataclysmic eruption. And it's important to understand what was taking place before. When you have the oozing eruption, the magma, the steam, the gases, it's coming up. But it's not, because it's just oozing, it's building a dome in the crater. And the dome was built to the extent of 13 million cubic meters of material. Adjoining it was another dome from 1979 of a similar size. So when you had the explosion, the dome, the new dome went, and then of course the old dome went. So just picture that volume of material, plus other material, fresh material coming up from inside the bowels of the earth and coming to the surface. And you described the ash, and Al Jazeera showed the desolate areas. In fact, the areas which were shown are parts of the constituency which I represent in the Parliament of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. What we are having now, and what appeared this morning very early, at about 4 o'clock, is the volcano, the energy subsided somewhat, but something dangerous happened. That instead of the emissions going straight up into the sky, it comes over the lower lip towards the northwestern side of the crater, and matter which went up in a column simply collapsed. There was not enough energy to send it all the way up into the sky, because what goes up must come down. But the danger with the matter which flows over on the lower lip of the volcano, of the crater, and also when the column going up collapses, is that that material has hot stones. And the stones and ash, they have a certain energy and speed going down the hill and through the valleys. And that is what is called a pyroclastic flow. And that is what can kill you. And that is what can move everything in its path. So the ash is dangerous, as you have seen. and the ash brings about desolation. But the pyroclastic flows, that is what, my dear Odette, which does the real killing and the real extensive damage. And we have had several episodes of that.
But according to the Al Jazeera report, Mr. Prime Minister, you had several deaths. I think it crossed 1,000 when it last erupted. To date, have you had any deaths recorded?
In 1902, nearly 1,600 in 1902.
Right, but to date, you've not had any deaths recorded as a result.
No.
Right.
There's several reasons for that. We are better prepared, more science, more technology, and the evacuation was done pretty well on the eastern side of the island, the northeastern side largely by road, and on the western side, the Caribbean side, the northwestern side, which is where the bays are calmer. We had a lot of evacuation by vessels. And we have at the moment over 80 shelters, emergency shelters, and we have some people in hotel rooms and some people in houses. Well, a lot of people are in private houses. Some people in hotel rooms and houses, but in private houses, we have thousands of people in private houses.
Right. Mr. Prime Minister, some people are...
Their hearts and minds, just like our Grenadian brothers and sisters who have been very generous to us, from the government, from Prime Minister Mitchell, through the Rotary Club, through everybody. That spirit, as I say, Odette, go ahead. You want to stop me? Go ahead,
no,
my princess.
I was just going to say you're a very good friend, Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Mitchell in Grenada, right?
Yes.
And also, some people have been critical of your government, saying that you acted too slowly in the evacuation process. You should have done it probably a couple of days before. What's your answer to that?
Well, we are following the science. We are following the science. And Colvin will tell you this. Professor Robertson, who is the head of the team of scientists on the ground, he's a Vincentian from the Seismic Research Center in Trinidad at the University of the West Indies. Every morning we have a show on national radio. It is, people are beginning to call it the Richie and Ralph show. His name is Richie Robertson. And they gave us, when the morning came, when there were some differences, when there were tremors, and they reported that to me at about 6 o'clock the particular morning. I said, well, should I go to evacuation? And they advised, no, let's watch it for a few more hours. So I went on what is called at an alert level, a particular alert level, kind of pre-evacuation. And while I was having a meeting with NEMO, the National Emergency Management Organization, at about 4 o'clock that very same day, other information came, scientific information. And the proof of the pudding is in the eating. Nobody died. And nobody got injured.
So if that's used as a measuring stick, I suppose you use that as a measuring stick, and possibly you said you follow the science and it's a good measuring stick. I know you have to run off in a few minutes and we need to get to the other panelists, but if we can go through a couple of matters. You did mention the CARICOM response, and I'm certain that's something we saw you becoming very overwhelmed by.
Yes. Well, you know, Odette, metaphorically, we are on the dangerous road to Jericho. And the people who are, you know, on that road to Jericho, the priest will pass you by, the Levite will pass you by, and somebody's knocking the door. I'm trying to tell them not to come inside where I am. But the Good Samaritan will stop by and will bind your wound, clean it, bind your wound, and take it to the inn. Well, we have had a lot of good Samaritans. They've come from all over the region. And in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, people have opened their homes to their friends and their families and even to strangers. And that itself creates an additional demand on the government, because in addition to treating with the shelters, we will have to provide food packages for persons who are also in people's homes, because you may give someone shelter and you may give them food for a few days, but you're going to need some assistance yourself in keeping persons for a longer period of time.
So, Mr. Prime Minister,
the real challenge we have now is with water. It's coming back bit by bit, but we have a lot of problems with water.
and we'll get to Mr. Joseph shortly, because yesterday we saw the Rotary Club, and we do have some footage of that. We saw the Rotary Club dispatching a large quantity of water to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We'll get to that. But Mr. Prime Minister, you mentioned that you're on the dangerous road to Jericho. And does that probably ring a bell? Did Nicodemus come knocking by night, you think?
Well, I think we have to really, you're mixing up some of your biblical allusions there. I think
no, Mr. Prime Minister, I'm not mixing them up at all. I remember in December
what I'm saying here, the question, the story about the Good Samaritan is where the question is posed philosophically and therefore theologically. Who is your neighbor? And in this world, each of us, in this dangerous world, each of us is our neighbor. So the Rotarians see us as their neighbors, and we are their neighbors. And they have come as Good Samaritans.
Very good, Mr. Prime Minister, but I was making the analogy because you made mention that this has come in the midst of COVID. And remember, COVID in December had a Nicodemus apparently knocking by night only in some CARICOM countries. Remember that, Mr. Prime Minister?
Oh, no. What? You were talking about my quip, not about the Bible. I was making the point during the time of COVID that I don't quite understand how you can have the curfew on nights and not in the day, because the virus doesn't come like Nicodemus at nights, or maybe if that's the nature of the virus, that is a different context.
Got you, Mr. Prime Minister. Speaking of Nicodemus knocking by night,
as I'm sure that Colvin will tell you, and so too our brother McIntyre, who is here helping us at NEMO. We have a pretty good ground game. I mean, this afternoon we had a NEMO meeting. I'm the Minister for Disaster Preparedness, and I'm the chair of the National Emergency Management Council. And he made the very telling point in all the discussions that this is a few days and the systems are working. He's inside of it, and he would know the systems are working. He comes here and there, but I always make this comparison, or I will make the comparison with now. You remember a big hurricane in New Orleans called Katrina?
Yeah, we do.
They didn't do the evacuation. They didn't do the evacuation nearly as well as we have done. And they have hundreds of millions of dollars. And in no occasion in St. Vincent and the Grenadines did any church turn away people, as happened in Katrina. You remember that?
But even before we go to Katrina, Mr. Prime Minister, you're talking about evacuation.
I'm only making the comparison.
Okay, comparison noted. Mr. Prime Minister, you've been speaking about evacuations, and one of the things we've learned is that for people to enter shelters, they must be vaccinated against COVID-19. Is that dictate that has come from your office?
That's not true.
That's not true?
When you enter the shelter, you don't have to be vaccinated against COVID. That's not true. When you enter the shelter, you enter the shelter, and what we are seeking to do is to, as much as possible, to test you. But those protocols is not compulsory for you to be tested to be in the shelters. Absolutely not. But
And
we
is it
put
mandatory for people
protocols
to?
in place.
Is it mandatory for people to be vaccinated if they are to be evacuated? One of the things we learned over the weekend, and I think some of the comments were attributed to yourself, and we have you live and you can say whether it is so or not, that there were reports that 2 cruise ships were headed to St. Vincent to assist with the evacuation process, and there was report. Will people be coming to Grenada, for instance, evacuated to Grenada, yes or no?
Well, it doesn't appear as many persons are going to leave, because the bulk of the people, overwhelmingly, they want to stay. They're relatively small numbers who want to leave. And there are countries some countries which said that they would take persons. They indicated that they would want those persons to be vaccinated. There is at least one of the countries which said, well, no, but we will make sure that they're PCR tested or rapid tested, and we'll have to quarantine them, because they themselves have to protect their own populations, and that's understandable. There's nothing untoward about that. But there's absolutely no requirement for anybody who is entering the camps, entering the shelters, to be vaccinated or even tested. But we're encouraging the testing. We will encourage vaccination, but certainly we are insisting on the protocols. That is to say, you wear a mask, you keep your physical distancing, the basic things to help, because we have to make sure that while we have you in the shelter, and we take good care of you. We don't want you to come down with COVID, and we don't want you to spread it.
Right. So, Mr. Prime Minister, let me just clarify. We did hear of the reports of the cruise ships headed to St. Vincent. Has that materialized?
The cruise ships are there, but today we took the decision that because the numbers are not large, to ask the cruise ships, say thanks, and if persons want to go, we will charter smaller vessels like those from Beckway or from Canawan, which ply between the islands. There are some people who want to go to different countries, but it's not a large number. People prefer to stay at home. They say they want to stay at home. I've been around several of the camps, and that's the message. They say, no, I don't want to go anywhere. I want to stay at home. I want to get over this thing. Take care of me good in the shelter, and as soon as possible time, you can go. And I think Colvin can confirm that, and so too the independent voice of Brother McIntyre.
And also, we have a question here. Can you ask Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves whether St. Vincent is under a state of emergency, and if not, why not under the current situation? Are you under a state of emergency, Prime Minister?
No. We have declared a national disaster areas under the National Emergency Management Organization, and we have declared a public health emergency. But we have not declared a state of emergency under the Constitution. In other words, people have their fundamental rights and freedoms. The way in which my government has dealt with the COVID vaccine is to use the law as a shield and not a sword. And I don't want to use the Constitution in its extreme, as though that is the daily bread and daily diet of the governance of the country. But we are strongly encouraging people to vaccinate because it is the right thing to do. And if they were leaving, we are strongly advising them to vaccinate. And in the case of certain countries, some countries said we would want to have them vaccinated. Those are the facts. Another country, at least one of the countries, said, look, they do the tests, and when they come, we will quarantine them.
Okay.
At first, I was advised that the cruise ships wanted them to be tested, to be vaccinated. Subsequently, the cruise ship said, no, I didn't speak to the cruise ships on that issue. I was reporting on what they had said, what officials had reported to me they had said. But in any case, several of the countries said they would want them to be vaccinated. And of course, I say at least one said, look, they don't have to be vaccinated, but they have to be tested and we'll quarantine them.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
The long and short is that the bulk of the people just want to stay home, and that's understandable.
Good.
But those who wish to go later on, we can make all those arrangements.
Excellent. Thank you for clarifying the point, Mr. Prime Minister. And we know you did say that you could only remain with us until 9 o'clock. But just before you go, prior to the eruption and all of this, there was this report. Some people gave sight of a cabinet conclusion which said that, and we did hear a report that all teachers, the tagline for the story was, get vaccinated or go. Is it that you're saying that teachers in St. Vincent and Grenadines ought to get vaccinated or they cannot continue holding their jobs?
No. We were saying, again, we strongly recommend that you be vaccinated as a teacher, but we were insisting that you be tested. And if you're not vaccinated and if you're not tested, we didn't want you in the classroom. Look, in the United Kingdom, you have to be tested twice a week to go into the classroom. We are in a pandemic. And what we were advancing and is not contrary to the constitution of the country. We were asking for something to be done, a test. And you can insist on the test for the purposes of protecting is necessary, reasonably required for a public purpose, to wit, public health and public safety. And it's reasonably justifiable in a democratic society. It passes constitutional muster. And we as an employer, we have a common law obligation to have a safe place for work. And you as an employee have an obligation to cooperate with the employer to have a safe place for work, a healthy place. There are persons who contacted me and said, people who took the vaccine, and they say, well, you know, Prime Minister, we'll have a lawyer to write you and say we are not coming to school if people are not being tested.
But Mr. Prime Minister, we can belabor that point, but two things before you go. There has been criticism of
I didn't want to belabor it. I was just explaining because you asked it, and I'm happy that you did.
Thank you so much for explaining, Mr. Prime Minister. Just before you go, there has been criticism on two fronts. Trade unions in Grenada have taken up this matter and said it's a violation of a person's constitutional rights if they do not want to have a vaccine to be forced to do so. One of the points that people have made in response to your edict that people would have to get tested if they don't get vaccinated, it's a form of harassment so that people will get tired of being tested and the requirement, and so they will subject themselves to the vaccine. So they see it as a form of harassment. And the third point, people are saying that you have brought St. Vincent to this point when in December, for instance, I think there's a popular, I think it's 9 nights you called it, and there were people in the streets and COVID-19 was ramping up all over the place, but yet you allowed it. So people are blaming you and your government for the position that you're in at this moment. What's your response to those?
No. St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we had a general election with far more people than the Christmas festivities on the streets. And there were no COVID because we had the border controlled fairly tightly. We didn't close the border. Other places closed than us. But over Christmas, there are persons who came in and they broke the quarantine, you know, and go among their family and their friends. And there was a spike at the end of December into January, and we've controlled it up to when the Sylvan erupted. we had a positivity rate of under 1%. So that's pretty good. And there were 10 deaths, and every single one of those deaths, the persons had tremendous pre-existing conditions, severe comorbidities. So that's not, you know, people in competitive politics, people can talk what they want to talk. But I don't really want to spend a lot of time on those things. There'll be another occasion for further debate on that. What we do have, we have a pandemic, and in the midst of that pandemic, we have a terrible volcanic eruption, which has dislocated lives further, bring great hardship, and the faces of men and women across our land are strained and anxious. And we are addressing this problem in an efficacious way, and people have come together, and we are working together in this matter. You will have, look, it's an open democratic society. There will be dissonances. And I will say to somebody, you know, nowadays, somebody will be able to point something and go and say, well, on the Facebook, look so and so. And I say to you, if you think that a meal was delivered late to a particular shelter by the entity which is given the job to provide the caterer who was supposed to put the meals, and I will say to you, well, why don't you take some food to the shelter? Why don't you be a good Samaritan rather than just stay on the sideline and snipe? That's entirely counterproductive, and I'm not really into that.
Got you there, Mr. Prime Minister. And as we get ready to wrap it up on this segment, because we know you have some other engagements and we move on with the other panelists, as you respond to the La Soufrière eruption, you want to get a message out to Grenada this evening. Even Mr. Henry Joseph, the president of the Rotary Club, what would that message be, and your closing words to the people of Grenada? And we have people all over the world watching and listening.
First of all, I have to say thanks. And I am very grateful on behalf of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines for what our brothers and sisters in Grenada and other countries of the Caribbean have been doing to assist us. The second thing I want you to know is that we are resilient. We are not a people of lamentations. I am not a lamentations man myself. Morning by morning, new mercies we see. All that we need, thy hand has provided. Great is thy faithfulness. And I am absolutely satisfied that the way we are proceeding and the togetherness which we have, we will build back better and stronger. We will go through this testing period as we have gone through testing periods, through the fever of our history, and we will emerge triumphant.
That's a word of faith, a positive note on which to end our deliberations this evening with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. Mr. Prime Minister, we want to thank you so much as you head off to continue managing that situation. I'll try to get you some coffee, even if it's virtually, and I just remember what your choice in the matter is. I won't forget.
And God bless you, Odette.
Thank you so much, Mr. Prime Minister. It's great to have you. This is Beyond the Headlines. We have had to spend some time with the Prime Minister of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, because he needed to head off. We will continue discussions with the other panelists this evening. The President of the Rotary Club, Mr. Henry Joseph, Mr. Colvin, of the National Broadcasting Corporation of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and our very own Superintendent Sylvan Intyre, who is on assignment with CDEMA, the Caribbean Disaster Management Agency in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We'll be right back after this commercial break. Do stay with us.
And they will be right back.
Every action we take impacts the lives of others around us. The Grenada Community Partnership Initiative, GCPI, has been working with Grenadian organizations to impact communities directly. Giving back to communities we serve is fundamental to the way we do business. And every year, more lives are touched across Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. In education, sports, health, infrastructure, social services, and beyond.
Get Rubigas. Get cooking. Rubigas, clean, safe, and reliable LPG is the perfect solution for your commercial and everyday needs. For cooking at home or barbecuing, choose Rubigas LPG cylinders. Available in a variety of sizes from 20 to 100 pound cylinders. Rubigas LPG, clean, safe, reliable. Are you cooking with Rubigas?
Get Rubis, get going.
We are taking pride in outstanding performance. We are encouraging and recognizing innovation. We are committed to continuously doing things better, with enhanced services coming soon. Yes, we are here for you. Check us out today for your financial need. GUT Credit Union, it's where you belong.
Hubbard's big promotion is back. Live free for 1 year. Spend $50 or more in any Hubbard's department and receive a chance to win big prizes every month. Property or vehicle insurance for 1 year. Free internet, cable, and data for 1 year. Free fuel for 1 year. Free cooking gas for 1 year. Free electricity for 1 year. Free drinks for 1 year. Extra cash account and the big free groceries for 1 year. Promotion runs from April 1st to September 30th, 2021. Live free for 1 year with Hubbard's in association with Solgas, Flow, Grenadian General Insurance, Carib Brewery, Coca-Cola, Grenada Bottling Company, Grenlec, Communal Cooperative Credit Union, Dutch Lady Milk, Promo, Danny and Supreme. Terms and conditions apply.
Do you know what time it is? You guessed right, it's detox time again. At Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center and Natural Health Store. Purchase our 7-day cleansing pack for only $500. Includes everything you need for a complete total body cleanse. Cleanse your blood, kidney, liver, and colon. This cleanse will help you lighten up and get rid of the excess. Also available are our special product Detox Combo Pack for only $100. Try our single detox products starting from $40. Check us out now. Belmont St. George's, close to the Fall Edge area, or call us on 231-6642, 449-7753, or 418-7115. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. Detox, your way to health.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. This evening, we're looking at the developments in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, where La Soufrière erupted in the last couple of days. And in the first segment of the program, we spoke with Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves. He has a very busy schedule and could not stay with us for the entire program. We do thank him sincerely for having journeyed with us for the first half of the program. We continue now with Mr. Colvin Harry, the program manager at NBC St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Superintendent Sylvan Intyre, who was the head of the National Disaster Management Agency here in Grenada, but he's now on assignment with the Caribbean Disaster Management Agency over in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we're happy to have him, as well as Mr. Henry Joseph, the president of the Rotary Club of Grenada. Yesterday, the Rotary Club sent a shipment of water and other supplies to St. Vincent and the Grenadines. Before we continue with the discussions, though, we'll take a snippet of a report that we had from, I believe this one we had producer, it's the La Soufrière Erupts too. We'll just take a brief part of that report and we'll come back with the discussions.
There's been another explosion of the volcano. We're not able to see it where we are. The visibility is really low, and now as I speak to you, it's just after 3 in the afternoon, but we know this because there are stones literally raining down on the vehicle. So this is the Prime Minister and his delegation that are leaving the red zone. The Prime Minister had visited earlier today, they're leaving now and heading back to the south. Okay, I'm here in Langley Park, Georgetown.
Right.
And
so, Colvin, take us through what we just saw there happening on the ground.
Well, good evening to you again, and thanks for having me. I think we must start from where it all began, at least the hive of activities that we've had over the last few days. We started on Thursday when that order was issued for the evacuation, and since then we've escalated to a full-blown explosive eruption which happened on Friday morning. And what you see in there is most recently, I believe that was captured during the course of the day or yesterday, I'm not certain. But that shows you the true extent of some of the material that has been deposited, particularly in the red zone so far. And over the last few days, it has changed from day to day with the information. We've been receiving regular information from the Seismic Research Center. As a matter of fact, several times per day. And as I speak to you now, I do know the 6 p.m. update came in terms of the scientific update, which goes into a bit of the detail as to what exactly is happening. What we're getting now is that the explosive state of Lassifrere is in full effect. It can last a matter of days, it can last a matter of weeks, maybe months. And the indication from the scientific minds are that pretty much we can expect the explosive stage to last for a while.
How are people coping at this time?
Well, in the matter of that, one of the challenges is water. One of the major challenges there is water. I know that on a previous channel, another channel rather, I provided an update on that, and since then I've seen some further updates. Some communities are receiving their water supplies at the moment, and others are still trying to balance the load so that those in the green zone, especially the shelters where a number of persons are stationed or gathered, that those individuals can have access to water. Outside of that, supplies with over 3,700 plus. That figure was as of yesterday across 84 shelters. We expect that those numbers may go up as persons who are still in the orange zones and the red zone finally decide to leave. And the challenges right now are making sure that all of these persons who are particularly scared at this time because of what they experience or what they're seeing happening unfolding before their eyes in their communities, making sure that they're all okay. But water is definitely one of those challenges. We also had a major blackout of the electricity supply early on Saturday morning, and we know that this caused some serious concerns with all Vincentians, not just those stationed in the shelters.
I've heard the desperate cry for water, and Grenada has answered, and we have with us the president of the Rotary Club, Mr. Henry Joseph. Mr. Joseph, you were quick on the button yesterday. That's members of the business community who are grouped in the Rotary Club.
Yeah, thank you very much. When we became aware that water was desperately needed, we contacted, of course, Glenegg, and they kindly consented to open up their warehouse and deliver, water to us. And of course, what I said to, someone today, because money is such a scarce commodity at this time, and because the club has not been able to raise, funds because of the pandemic, we were limited in what we can do. But we have a number of organizations that came forward. For example, the Law Society, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and some other organizations. So we were able to put together about 800 cases of water. We found a ship, the Carib Express. They were coming to do their own business here, and they kindly consented to take the water back to St. Vincent at no cost, to the Rotary Club. So we worked all day yesterday, as it were, to ensure that, the water was all ready, went onto the boat, and in fact, I can confirm that at this moment, the water is being used in St. Vincent. All right. So there's still a need for water, and of course, there is the cash that is necessary to buy it. So if anyone out there is hearing the appeal, I can suggest that you contact any member of the Rotary Club. We have 2 Rotary clubs in Grenada, the Rotary Club of Grenada and the Rotary Club of Grenada East. The members, I believe, are clearly identifiable because, within the last couple of months, we have been doing a number of community projects.
Okay.
We also have a bank account, and I would just like to give people the information. It is at the Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, and the account number is 411-000-739. So the donations would be, kindly accepted, and of course, we do have an opportunity to send some water again on Friday because a ship which has given us some space would be down here. So, once we have the funds, we would be able to buy, some more water to send across.
Great initiative there, Mr. Joseph. And I believe somehow we seem to have lost Superintendent McIntyre. Oh, Superintendent, you are there. I suppose you're multitasking. we sense you're doing a lot of multitasking this evening. God bless your heart. Superintendent McIntyre, you found yourself in the middle of a disaster. It probably is a strong word. Take us through what the experience has been like. You've been managing these events since 2004 and probably more.
So once again, good evening to everyone from what I consider the beautiful island of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. I've been before, during, and after this event. It's historic by nature, and it's one of the more challenging events I had to plan for and respond to. It was complex in nature, but as the Prime Minister alluded to, we are coming through this, we are walking through this. There are lots and lots of lessons learned from this experience, and it's one of the opportunities that the region has to be proud of, that we are able to see our capacities being put into good use, as Dr. Ralph referred to our response to this as compared to other states that may have much more resources. I want to just reiterate this point before I forget, that the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, CDEMA, pivotal to this process for ensuring coordination and response to emerging hazards and disasters in the Caribbean, is the first of its kind that someone has been deployed in a disaster situation, COVID-19. And my involvement here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, it's one that the CDEMA unit is noted as to how we can take lessons learned out of this experience to operate in a COVID-19 environment. Now, this event, I came here to plan through the process, not knowing exactly when it was going to erupt. So the planning process, looking at communication, looking at the evacuation plan in itself, the transportation plan as to how it's going to fit in all of that, the relief management plan, those were some of the instruments I had to have looked through before this event actually happened. Another notable thing for the region is that of the expertise by Dr. Richard Robinson. I think that the region has grown to respect. And it is one of the times that we can say our experts have done it and almost correct to the letter. This one, with the amount of instruments that was placed on the volcano itself, was able to, in my opinion, prevent the loss of life and to an extent, some aspect of the physical infrastructure and assets from being destroyed.
Lieutenant McIntyre, where are we at the moment? There was the eruption on the weekend, and now we understand that there are pyroclastic flows, yeah?
Yes. So this volcano has gone through a few phases, and the scientists, if you listen to them closely, it was not the easiest of volcanoes to even follow, because the La Soufrière was acted in reverse order, and that is as compared to previous events in 1902, 1971, 1979, etc. Those events, they followed a particular pattern. The people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines who remembered 1979 were antsy because the Easter weekend was coming and that's when it last erupted. And history has shown that most of, if not 100% of the eruptions happened just around April. So we were planning with some focus in mind, just in the event that it may have happened. Unfortunately, some of the things we wanted to have done, we did not get it done in time, but the bulk of the plans that we wrote came into effect. It was implemented, and we can say it led to our overall success. We did say, based on what Dr. Richard Robinson and others were saying, when we had the effusive eruption, then it got to an extreme stage where we almost got up to red, but stayed on orange. And the scientists did say, well, you don't know, any moment now it can happen. And in our estimation, we were saying it gave us some time to prepare. It gave us some cues and some indication. We had 1, then we had 2. And I said just the day before that count 3 could be, and we're out. And it exactly happened. 1, 2, and 3, and it actually exploded. Where we are at currently, the volcano went into an extreme explosive state earlier on this morning, in the wee hours of the morning. I walked here overnight into the morning, and we were called by the scientists to say we have this explosion, and pyroclastic flow is coming down through some of the areas on the eastern or on both the leeward and windward sides. So as it stands now, pyroclastic flow is visible in some of the communities. People are still not allowed to go back into the demarcated areas. As a matter of fact, checkpoints have been set up by the police, not allowing anybody in, or anybody should be coming out, as a matter of fact, because it is too dangerous to move. We've had some situation where persons who refused to move during the time that they were given for the evacuation had to be calling on 99-hour for rescue mission. The Coast Guard had to make quite a number of trips trying to rescue people who were trapped and calling for help. And some vessels passing along the leeward coast did have to provide some level of evacuation for persons who were trapped. So the aftermath would be the cleanup process, and that cannot really happen until the scientists are sure that areas are safe to venture into. It is our aim to do a damage and needs assessment to understand exactly what has happened outside, closer to the northern area of the island. But I can tell you from preliminary reports that there are a couple building collapse. One resident did say this afternoon that the roof of at least one school collapsed, and the ashfall in most of the areas, they are very, very dense. The vegetation is burnt or covered with ash. And one farmer did say to me personally that there is no grass for his animals because everything is either burnt or covered under ash. And that's the situation that we're facing currently. The water supply was cut off as a protective measure because, as you may know, and if you don't know, that volcanoes carry a number of hazards with it, and one of it can cause corrosive effects on some of the aluminum material that are used as a conduit for water. So they wanted to have this protective measure, and so they cut off their catchment areas. That's a challenge. The entire nation is one that has to be served with water, and almost 6,000 plus people have to be fed directly, either through catered meals or cooked meals, or they would do it themselves.
So this is where we will take a commercial break, but just before we run off, Mr. Joseph, people are asking that you please repeat the bank account number, the name of the bank and the account number before we run off on a commercial break.
Okay, it's the Grenada Cooperative Bank Limited, Church Street, St. George's. The account number is 411 30739, and the name of the account is the Rotary Club of Grenada.
Okay, great. So repeating that, the Grenada Cooperative Bank, Church Street, St. George, the account number is 411 739 411-000-739. Grenada Cooperative Bank, Church Street, St. George is the name of the account, Rotary Club of Grenada. This is Beyond the Headlines. We will be right back. We'll be discussing where to from here with St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and how can Grenada and other CARICOM neighbors help. Do stay with us.
a winner. We are winners, winners.
It's the big one. Grenada. Imagine winning $25,000 and up to 6 times by scratching just one little ticket. Get your triple cash scratch tickets for a chance to live your best life. Win easy with Scratch. For just $3, match any of your numbers to any of the winning numbers and win the prize shown for that number. Reveal a money back symbol and win the prize instantly. Triple cash scratch in stores now. Must be 18 or older to play.
'Cause I'm a winner. From the moment that I get up, I'm feeling right.
A pleasant evening to everyone. Welcome to the National Lotteries Authority's Lotto Draw number 3198 for today, Monday, April 12, 2021. I am Anisha Charles. With me this evening is Ms. Makiba Bain from PKF Accountants and Business Advisors, whose purpose is to ensure that this show is conducted in an accountable manner and the game balls with industry standards and in a way stamped with. At the same show, tickets at hand because we're about to play for a jackpot of $118,000. But first, your free ticket letter. Good luck. This evening's free ticket letter is check your tickets. Your free ticket letter for this evening is E as in egg. Let's proceed for 5 winning numbers. Good luck. Customer this evening is check your tickets in the meantime. Customer up is 31. Second number. Second number is 10. Third number up. Third number is 32, followed by 3, fifth and final number. Final number is 29. Let's recap those numbers. Check your tickets. First number up is 31. The second, 10. Third, 32, followed by 3. Fifth and final is 29. So that's 31, 31, 10, 10, 32, 32, 033, and 29, 29. Your free ticket letter for this evening is E as in egg. Congratulations to all the winners of this evening's Lotto Draw. Lotto, play and win a lot. When you play all the games of the National Lotteries Authority, supports sports, culture, and nation building. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful evening.
By now, you should know that the early bird catches the worm. So, what are you waiting for? Put wings to your feet and head to your nearest scratch seller. For every quick sevens scratch ticket you buy at $2, the NLA gives you 7 chances at winning as much as $7,000. Scratch the entire play area for your 7 chances at revealing as much sevens and win the corresponding prizes. Win easy with Scratch. Must be 18 or older to play.
Every action we take impacts the lives of others around us. The Grenada Community Partnership Initiative, GCPI, has been working with Grenadian organizations to impact communities directly. Giving back to communities we serve is fundamental to the way we do business. And every year, more lives are touched across Grenada, Carriacou, and PT Martinique. In education, sports, health, infrastructure, social services, and beyond.
Total is one of the world's largest oil companies with a top quality line of lubricants. Total Lubricants has a full product line from passenger cars, motorcycle, heavy industrial equipment, mining, trucking, agriculture, and manufacturing machines and vehicles. Total Lubricants, winning championships in motorsports, including Formula One and World Rally Championships. Total Lubricants are available at all Rubis service stations, leading automotive shops, and distributed by Huggins.
How going on, boy?
Hey, good old things.
Hey, Daisy.
Yeah.
Boy, in line, boy. Your house looking a real good day.
Boy, it's thanks to the hard-working and professional staff at the Housing Authority of Grenada. They handled me real nice. They did my plan, they did the construction, and I didn't even have to worry about a thing. They were there with me every step of the way, supervising the job, asking me about my concerns, giving me feedback as the house took shape. They were there from start to finish, and even put the keys in the palm of my hand. I give them an A++ for customer service.
Oh, it's people from housing bad, boy.
Boy, not bad. Excellent. If you're thinking about constructing your home, why not consult the Housing Authority of Grenada? You could visit them right down in the Sandino complex or give them a call, 440-1015 or 440-1016. Or check out their website, hag473.com. They go handle you. They go jog your blocks, they go draw your plan, they go tote your materials. Hey man, where you going? The Housing Authority of Grenada is your choice for affordable housing and a stress-free construction experience.
Do you know what time it is? You guessed right, it's detox time again at Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center and Natural Health Store. Purchase our 7-day cleansing pack for only $500. Includes everything you need for a complete total body cleanse. Cleanse your blood, kidney, liver, and colon. This cleanse will help you lighten up and get rid of the excess. Also available are our special product Detox Combo Pack for only $100. Try our single detox products starting from $40. Check us out now. Belmont St. George's, close to the Fall Edge area, or call us on 231-6642, 449-7753, or 418-7115. Nirvana Natural Health Clinic, Detox Center, and Natural Health Store. Detox, your way to health.
Welcome on your blood heart so bad now.
My God. A man tried to sell me. I went down here to do something. A man tried to deal me.
Not this thing, man.
Yeah, he wanted to deal me.
Who property you come out in?
No, it's not that. I had to go and do something. So, what? Somebody asked me to go and drop something for it. So when I go, I see the man, and I know the man tried to sell me. He want to take me soul.
He damn good. Should I sell you? Good. No, that man does deal?
No, man. Watch. I know the man does deal, but what I say is, where when they? I expect the man try to do that.
Partner, you want to go and see your light burning.
No. The man try to deal me. You want to take me soul. Folks, let me tell you something. This Friday will be culture. I will tell all you who tried to sell me and what they tried to sell me for. So make sure and join us Friday on Week Culture. All you careful. You are real dealers in the place.
They should have sold you. I don't know why you're here though. You should have been sold for real.
14.
A little more limbo, a little more shango. Kindly greasy pole, and we don't dance round the maple.
Can you spend wisely and have more savings? Yes, you can. Learn more with Money Matters on GBN Television. The Money Matters series explores 12 top ways to save money. In this series, you would learn how to save by setting up your spending money right. Save on vehicle loans, home improvement projects, your credit cards, and even on prescription drugs. Tune in every Tuesday morning at 7:15 for Money Matters, a lighthearted conversation with financial planner Tali Francis. Follow the rebroadcast on Thursdays at 6:50 p.m. and on Sundays at 7:30 p.m. Money Matters is a financial literacy public awareness program sponsored by Republic Bank Grenada.
Republic Bank, we're the one for you.
Grenadians in New York are coming together to pay tribute to our nation's COVID-19 victims and other people who died during the pandemic. The recognition would be in the form of a service of remembrance that would be streamed live via Zoom from Our Lady of Refuge RC Church in Brooklyn on April 18th. Streaming would begin at 4 p.m. and end at 5:30 p.m. under the theme Remembrance, Recognition, and Tribute. Grenadian culture will be showcased in performances from gospel artists, prominent Calypsonians, and the popular cultural group Quake USA. Now, we need your support in providing us with the names of your loved ones who were lost because of COVID. Please email the names to covidmemorialgnd@gmail.com. That's covidmemorialgnd@gmail.com. Let's all remember our dear Grenadians who COVID has taken from us. Zoom in to the live stream Sunday, April 18th at 4 p.m. from Our Lady of Refuge RC Church in Brooklyn. God bless.
Hey folks, you're invited to tune in to Grenada Music to the World program, hosted by Eugene Gittens on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on Classic Radio 105.5, 105.9, Hot FM 98.5, 98.7, GBN TV, and all their social media platforms. the only totally local music program in Grenada, representing all genres of music. So it's Green's Music to the World on Saturday mornings from 10 a.m. to 12 noon on GBN with the music icon himself, Mr. Eugene Gittins. See you then.
There's no better way to start your day than with me on Good Morning Grenada. Good Morning Grenada is your one-stop shop. We have information, education, entertainment, your bi-weekly traffic cam, and we link up with the sister isles of Carriacou and PT Martinique. Join me every 6:35 on weekdays for Good Morning Grenada. It's your daily dose of all things Grenadian, mixed with just a little bit of crazy.
Good morning, good morning.
I said just a little bit of crazy.
I tell all of the things that take me.
Good Morning Grenada, 6:35 a.m. on weekdays, available on all GBN platforms. Start your morning off right.
Welcome back to Beyond the Headlines. We did have somewhat of an extended commercial break because Murphy's Law has been at play tonight. We did encounter a technical problem while we were on commercial break. We do apologize for that, and it's great to be back. We have Mr. Colvin Harry, the program manager, NBC Radio St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Superintendent Sylvan McIntyre. He is the CDEMA officer on duty in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and Mr. Henry Joseph, the president of the Rotary Club. We did have Mr. Joseph remind us of the bank account number. We have sent it to Mr. Slocum in Master Control and asked him to have it placed at the bottom of the screen so that those of you wanting to make contributions to the account can do so. And Superintendent McIntyre, before we went to break, we were looking at the latest development. And Colville, I believe you do have the latest bulletin as issued at 8 o'clock this evening?
Yes, I do. That update pretty much spells out what we're dealing with right now and what is the latest happening. And it also tells us about those in the shelters. It's quite detailed, so I'll share a few of the first points, and then we'll probably cover the others during the course of the rest of the program. And the update has at 8 p.m. on La Soufrière, the pattern of seismic activity at La Soufrière changed again with the end of the episodes of high amplitude tremor 2 to 8 hours apart. 3 episodes of tremor have been recorded since 6 a.m., 2 of them lower amplitude, and the third at about 5 p.m. was a high amplitude. The episodes continue to coincide with periods of enhanced venting or explosive activity. Small, long period earthquakes have been recorded since about 6 p.m. on the 11th of April. These were erroneously reported as volcanic tectonic earthquakes in a previous report. Assistance provided by the Coast Guard today enabled a reconnaissance of the entire north coast of St. Vincent from Chateaubelair to Georgetown. Observations made indicate that pyroclastic density currents, or PDCs, had descended several valleys on the southern and western flanks of the volcano and had reached the sea at Monronde, Laracay, and Trollops Bay. Extensive damage to vegetation was noted in an area extending from Laracay Bay to Turner Bay on the west coast. And this is the final point for now. No other areas along the coast were affected by PDCs, but villages located in the eastern flank of the volcano were affected by heavy ashfall.
Thanks for the update, and we would also like to welcome all of our listeners and viewers in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. We have a notation here from Old School 94.1 FM that they're carrying the broadcast, and a couple of the stations in St. Vincent and the Grenadines are carrying the broadcast as well, and we'd like to say thank you for tuning in to Grenada Broadcasting Network this evening. Superintendent McIntyre, how much longer can we expect this to go on for?
This is one of the questions that everybody would love to be answered, or love to have an answer for, but unfortunately, the science will dictate exactly how long we will get some sense of relief. However, we can depend on the reliable readings from the instruments that are still very functional, and that will give an indication as to where the volcano is trending. Most of the final actions has to be, in some cases, guesstimates in terms of exactly when what can happen. But there is a window from previous years, and scientific modeling may have shown that this kind of condition could last for months. And in one case, there was a situation where that erupting system lasted for up to about 9 months. But as it stands now, an explosive eruption to the extent to which we saw earlier on today, where plastic flow was released, it is a bad thing, but a good thing to an extent that the uneasiness and the discomfort of the ash fall is one of the things that a lot of people can't stand. And some of the respiratory conditions that can be a fallout from it, that is one of the things that people are happy to be relieved of. The explosion also is an indicator that the volcano is releasing most of the stuff or the substance and pressure that is on the inside. And if that is happening, it means therefore that it can go back to a state of normalcy within a shorter period of time, or it can regain strength, pull more energy. There could be a depression of the substance and gas again that could possibly lead to further explosions. So as it stands now, there is no definite way of saying that we are near to the end. We are very, very hopeful that within the shortest possible time, lives can be brought back together. You can imagine the entire country is now depending on water trucked into the areas and on bottled water from sources here in St. Vincent and from our good friends and neighbors around the Caribbean, the region, and the globe, as a matter of fact, from wherever it can come. That kind of assistance is provided.
So, Superintendent, people have been asking about the direction of the wind because Barbados, and we do have some footage out of Barbados, was severely impacted by this. The day turned into night suddenly. We had several people from St. Lucie especially sharing footage of what was happening. We saw the airport in Barbados inundated with a lot of ash. So we normally say winds easterly, and we think that's the direction of the wind, and people thought it would come this way, but it went that way. What was responsible for that?
Well, the meteorological phenomena would more closely explain that, but sometimes the predictions and forecasts don't always work in the way that we expect. What happened, one of the factors that could have affected the extent of in my opinion, the uncharacteristic flow of the ash was the extent to which it went into the atmosphere. There was one time it went up to like 35,000 feet, extending to 10 kilometers plus. With the thickness of that plume and the extent into the atmosphere where it ascended, it is possible that the different wind speed, wind shear, and angles can bring it further than under a normal condition where it may have just been surfacing lower above the earth. That could be one of the factors. And the modeling released from the MBI did not indicate that it was trending that way. But again, the phenomena is that once it gets at a particular level, it is possible for wind shear, wind change to take it in different directions. And you may wonder, well, St. Vincent is north of Grenada and it should not have been veering that south because the northeast trade winds and the Caribbean winds comes across, it goes from the east across west, and therefore it should be taking the ashfall away from us. But height and the magnitude of the plumes would have had something to do with the extent of it as to how it impacted Barbados and some of the countries away from St. Vincent itself.
So the footage that you saw a short while ago, that was Barbados, the airport in Barbados, and we did have other footage out of Barbados showing how dark it became at, early in the day. One person sent some footage it was 10 o'clock in the day and they had to be using lights in the house. Some people are worried and wondering, Superintendent, about how accurate the information that will be provided from the observatory will be considering the inundation of ash.
We have every reason to trust the instruments that does not solely depend on visibility. the readings, all one has to be able to do is to read it off the monitors from the computers that is well placed within the observatory. We've had cameras up there. I think one of them may have been destroyed, or some of the instrument may have been distorted as well. But they are reliable readings that are still coming from the volcano that would give enough indication as to where it is actually trending. As it relates to the ashfall and visibility, it seemed at one time that, well, the entire island of St. Vincent was enveloped in ash. And as we moved around, traffic had to be pulling aside, people had to stop. We went to get some things off the vessels that came from Barbados to bring some relief items. And we were just covered in ash all over. It looked as though it was snowing all over St. Vincent and the Grenadines. It's one of the experiences that people have said they would not really like to relive, that the 1979, 40 plus years had nothing close to that where the ashfall was concerned. So these kind of phenomena that we see, we can't prepare best for them, but one thing that worked in our favor was our ability to interact and to use technology to our advantage to warn people of the impending damage and effects that eruption could have had.
We'll go to Mr. Joseph of the Rotary Club to talk a little bit about how mobilization is done in this time and the impact on livestock in particular. But first, the human impact. And we had two guys who spoke with Kenton Chance about the experience, and it was summarized blutum, and they were talking about having had some fried bakes, and I believe they were talking about one of the treasured I wouldn't go there. I'll let them say for themselves. So let's try and take that report that would forever be etched in the minds of some people as to how they related the episode. And I think that one has been labeled blutum. Let's see what that has to say.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Kenton Chance. I'm a journalist. So we are here in Chateau. There's a lot of ash falling, but you're still here.
It wasn't a nice morning this morning. After all the morning they're talking about, this morning wasn't a nice morning.
Can you explain?
Well, I even go see what my animal.
Well, I was there. When I talking about the man still like a jet passing, I tell me back every marijuana. But no, I'm telling you now, boy, the eruption now is just mutum.
Yeah.
So we know pumps every day.
I said, boy, it's a jet
passing day.
I said, no, it's not a jet. I'm wrapping them up. Because we're trying to bring down a little marijuana, because we're not in the marijuana life. But we live in Chateau and everything, so we're trying to make our livelihood to the best. But we have to run left all them marijuana.
So where exactly were you this morning when the eruption took place?
Right under Software Cell. Right under.
Just like a little bit under the way the fire burn come down.
So I have money for that.
Right down.
You said you heard like a jet passing?
Yeah, it was like a jet. And you tell me, boy, is a jet passing? I tell him, boy, that sound like a plane. But I say, boy, he's telling me, no, boy, that's not a plane. Then the other guys, them say, no, that's not a plane, Naka. Let we go, it's the volcano. And then I go back in some bakes I got in my bag. A pot of bakes we had free for everybody. Then I couldn't pick up some job, look, the food stuff and everything I got in back. I run with all my food.
This morning.
Yeah.
Did you know that the government had ordered an evacuation?
We did all that, but our life. No.
If you know what we dog, the last thing we weed out dog.
We look forward. Look, this the last.
We go try, take everything. We go try to go ending.
Running chain.
Our scientists have to go blue, but we are studying because we do our thing. Goat, all the goats in them.
Run guy left me. Down on the hill. You say, wait, boy.
Right now we are outside.
Yeah. And we just get 3 of the bakes. The few bakes.
So when you were coming down, was the eruption actually taking place already?
Blue doom. Blutum, all the dog of them start to run behind me. All the dog of them start to run, blutum. Then you're hearing like this stone on them, like out there, so get ashes.
Right now we are outside.
But in there, you hear like fine stone dropping in the trees of them, making me run breathless more. Even between the gutters of them all like kinda like so, make me go through.
So, Colvin, take us through that. You'd have to do some translation for us. I could make out him saying they had a pot of bakes frying, him talking about marijuana. We don't go there in Grenada. He's talking about the weed and his livelihood. And the dogs and blutum. He thought it was a jet passing. Come, translate for us, please. Thanks.
Well, I've heard about the video, but this is actually the first time I'm seeing it in Intyre. But I can tell you, I believe those were farmers, marijuana farmers, who were farming on the slopes of La Soufrière. And for those who are not aware, the underground industry in terms of marijuana farming was quite a large presence there on the slopes of the La Soufrière. I believe most of that has since been destroyed. But they were describing their experience there, and the blutum sound you're hearing, I believe, was the explosions. That was the explosions happening. Some of the easier food items to prepare, flour, you can travel with that easily. And he talks about frying his bakes. I think I don't know if you refer to them as fried dumplings. Some persons call them that, but that is what he was referring to. If I could just give you an idea as to what he was saying there. But for the most part, he was describing his experience and what he really heard, and those noises would have been very alarming for anybody that close. And I must say that they're lucky to still be around.
So, Kenton, people are now worried about livestock because they were pointing out, we had a report on GBN about a month ago with livestock farmers saying that they can't really find animals. The butchers, a butcher in St. Andrew was saying that they're getting the animals from St. Vincent. So now we have to wonder what will happen. And we also know that a lot of ground provisions do come here from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So what is happening with the agricultural sector as a result of this? Colvin?
Sorry?
Yeah, I was asking you about how this will impact the agricultural sector. Livestock especially.
Well, we did hear from the Minister of Agriculture just on the day before this explosion took place. There was a media conference hosted by the Prime Minister that afternoon, and there were things put in place to safeguard the livestock. There was a particular point chosen in outside of the red zone. I think it was in the yellow zone or the green zone, where the animals were to be relocated. And they were actually tagged, from what the minister stated, they were tagged, and the process was to move them to that area so that in the case that we have an explosive eruption, which we did have the next day, that the livestock, as many of them as possible, would have been secured. I'm not sure if that was executed, if that was able to even happen, because the very next day after the evacuation order was issued, the explosion came just before 9 o'clock in the morning.
At the impact that this will have on St. Vincent and the Grenadines and the neighboring islands like Grenada, we know that we do import some ground provisions from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. That has been happening since Hurricane Ivan. And we have the butchers in Grenada saying that they import a lot of the livestock from St. Vincent. Rotary Club, how do you mobilize in times of need to really get the assistance? You did manage to get that water out quickly yesterday. Mr. Joseph, that's for you.
I'm not sure, what you're asking me, because I don't know anything about farming really. So if
basically,
you want to,
what is the mobilization process? The mobilization process that Rotary goes through to get assistance across to wherever it's needed?
Well, I mean, what I indicated, it was quite an extraordinary thing, right? Once we became aware that water was needed, we immediately, started to put it together. And of course, because we had a large number of members who gave up their time, it became a simple thing to do. Because I would think we started about, 1 o'clock the afternoon, and by 5, we were complete. It is not a simple thing as it may sound, okay? But remember, the Rotary Club have, lots of managers, people who are accustomed, making decisions and that kind of thing. So it was easy to implement. In the case of farmers, I am not sure how simple it would be to mobilize them and, to get them to do things. Plus, when you talk about moving animals, you need space. You need, I would say, a short distance, except you have, trucks or something to carry them. So the two, I don't think you could really compare them.
Okay. Thanks, Mr. Joseph,
and
for that.
I just wanted to clarify something. Now, the Grenada Cooperative Bank, they have branches in most of the parishes. So, if someone in Sotes, for example, wants to make a donation to the fund, you can go to the bank in Sotes. Once they quote the account number, it would get to the Rotary Club. So they don't have to be concerned that they have to be in St. George's, right? The account itself is in St. George's, but you can make your deposit anywhere there is a branch of the Grenada Cooperative Bank.
Thank you for the clarification, and the number is listed at the bottom of the screen. As we get ready to wrap it up this evening, Superintendent McIntyre, how do you think this compares with the experience in Montserrat and even when you had that huge explosion in St. Vincent long ago?
This is the second of its event, second event of its kind. I am aware that the Caribbean region has responded to in recent times, that of the Montserrat. Montserrat's response and the effect of it was different to that of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, in that Montserrat had an extreme releasing of the pyroclastic flow that went rapidly downhill. I also think that in those times, the warning process was shortened. In this case, St. Vincent and the Grenadines had lots of time basically following and monitoring the activity of of La Soufrière, so that even if there was a different kind of explosion, the warning period that they were afforded would have worked positively. That's really the difference. The other thing here was the ash plumes and so that went up and covered or affected some of the sister islands. That's one of the characteristics of volcanoes, with the lava, magma, the pyroclastic flow, and to an extent, acid fall or acid rain that comes with the ash, and the gases that are released from it. Those are some of the hazards associated. It is really a multiplicity of things that are associated with that, and quite a number of health issues could be associated. So it is an exercise that is not get at any one approach to a solution. It's quite a bit of it. But what I want to say in dealing with a situation like this, responding to it like sister islands and countries, it is good to assess what the basic needs are and prioritize them. As it stands now, the need for St. Vincent and the Grenadines is that water is in huge demand, and the inflow of it has started. Food items is less of a requirement, but it is also encouraged. What would be of most important would be cash donations that would help in keeping the economy rolling, given the fact that COVID-19 is also a condition. There are some concerns coming out of the experience as well, understanding that there is community outbreak in some places in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And so COVID-19, there could be a possible outbreak or increase in the number of cases on the island. So there are quite a number of things that has to be maneuvered through, including that of dengue fever. We have also the approaching of the hurricane season, not just for St. Vincent, but for the region. It is saying to us that we're not living in normal times, and we just have to be prepared, listen to the experts and work. And even if you have experts of what kind of talent, experience, or nature, the supreme architect, the Almighty himself, is the one who dictates our courses. And we must be cognizant of that and be mindful of our courses in life and how we can contribute positively in our own development and to the development and protection of others. I would like to express on behalf of the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines profound gratitude for the outpouring of support. The Prime Minister was very emotional in terms of how other heads reached out to him, and I've seen the overwhelming response across, and I'm sure that it's only a matter of time. The system that we put in place, it is rolling out smoothly. I am hoping that the standard and the procedure that we are leaving here, it could be built on, and we are looking forward as responders to be united with our loved ones back in our own home country. I'm definitely looking forward to that. But I am gratified that the support, the contribution to the region's response mechanism has worked and will continue to work. But as a country, Grenada itself, we need to be able to plan for different kinds of hazards as well. And Kikamjeni is also a threat. It says to us that our own instruments and management procedure in our own island must also be revisited. And the experience from this one will serve us well if we capitalize on the opportunity and position ourselves to maximize the benefit that can come out of an experience like this one.
Superintendent, I'm certain you want to clarify the context within which you mentioned Kikamjeni, because already last week there was these reports going about. You're not saying that Kikamjeni is a direct threat as a result of La Soufrière. You're just saying generally. Sure you want to clarify that?
Absolutely. Kikamjeni is a continuous threat. It is an erupting volcano as well. It is thermally active, but it is different in nature, but it does carry some level of risk with it. One of the things, and maybe we can revisit our instruments, which would be good. It is a good time for Grenada to revisit its own monitoring capacity that will one off in the event that Kikamjeni also act up. I think I want to clear the myth and the idea that because the La Soufrière went up, that Kikamjeni will go up. The science does not indicate directly that there is a straight channel between volcanoes. What is the common factor is that they all sit on the Caribbean tectonic plates, and movements, earthquakes, and extreme pressure within the Earth's crust can cause other volcanoes to act. That is not definitely a factor which is ultimate, which means that once one goes up, the other will. But it is not an impossible expectation as well. But there is no direct link to say, based on the experts' advice, that once a volcano goes up in a particular region, that the others would. But it is not totally ruled out that because of the activities happening on that same tectonic plate will not affect the activities of another. But there is no relation, no readings from my inquiry that indicate that Kikamjeni is behaving differently because of La Soufrière.
Should people be concerned about the quality of the water supply in Grenada as a result of the ash fall?
Absolutely. It is good to do water testing quality and sampling as well. The people up here are advised not to use the water for cooking or anything of that sort, maybe washing to an extent from some of the rivers. Some of the rivers are still very silty because we had some rain over the last couple of days, and the ashfall is still very, very evident as the sediments of some of these catchment areas. So our scientists have been doing sampling air quality and water quality before it can be released into the service lines. Similar, Grenada should look at its own supply and ensure that the quality provided. I trust in NAWASA. I know they have good instruments and procedure in place, but that is an undertaking in the interest of our population.
Okay, so as we roll it out this evening, Colvin, I'm certain that there are the two last points on the bulletin that was issued at 8 o'clock that you want to share as we get ready to wrap it up this evening?
Yes, and a bit more than two, but I'll share them quickly. Point number 4 was the one that we left off. It says no other areas along the East Coast were affected by the PDCs, that's a pyroclastic flows, but villages located on the eastern flank of the volcano were heavily affected by ashfall. The volcano continues to erupt explosively and has now started to generate pyroclastic density currents. Explosions and accompanying ashfall of similar or larger magnitude are likely to continue to occur over the next few days. We must note as well the alert level remains at red, and in relation to the shelters, 85 shelters with more than 3,782 occupants are now activated. registration of persons who have sought shelter with family and friends. It is ongoing. And the National Emergency Operations Center continues to be fully functional, operating on a 24-hour basis. And NEMO, our local agency, has promised to continue to provide further information and continuous updates. And just to note as well, for us here at my employer, National Broadcasting Corporation, it's been quite a long one. We've been on the air 24 hours since Thursday night. As a matter of fact, myself and my general manager, you can see the cots in the back there. We've been here, just giving some encouragement to the nation. We don't necessarily have a very recent information to share, but we just want to maintain that connection with our listeners. Play some music, interact, take some calls, just to reassure people that everything is going to be okay. As a matter of fact, in about 45 minutes, I'm going live from 11 until 5 in the morning with my general manager, and we'll be having some very interesting persons joining us during the course there. And we really want to thank once again, and I'm just echoing what the superintendent said, echoing the thanks we're expressing to Grenada, to the rest of the region. Bottled water, very much needed, and we really appreciate you and all the support you're providing to us. I know that you two had your episode with Ivan in 2004, and now you are lending assistance to us, and we are greatly appreciative of this.
Colvin, thank you so much. I just want you to have a word with Superintendent Intyre, just, to be cautious, because I heard him speaking like a true Vincent, we appreciate and we are happy and we are this. I just want to remind him of his nationality, so get the mission done. You're on loan, but if we find you overstaying, you're welcome. We'll send a private jet to get you, Super.
Prime Minister Gonsalves has inducted me into the Vincentian citizenship, and I am proud to hold the dual citizenship of Vincentian, Grenadian, and other parts of the Caribbean. I'm Caribbean, so there's no problem with that. But I just want to use the opportunity as we close to let our interest persons know that the continuing need for St. Vincent and the Grenadines would be priority one, water, that is encouraged to be sent. There are some perishable, non-perishable food items encouraged. Tent and sleeping items are still some things outstanding. Storage capacity for water and distribution thereof are still items that we continue to ask for. Buckets, and so we've made an appeal for that so that persons could use the bucket rather than trying to get it through the pipelines to be able to save some of it. And those are some of the basic needs emerging at this time. We are providing every day a needs list, and persons can tune in on the NEMO's webpage. There is a hotline that persons who have not yet registered as evacuees, they can do that. And persons emerging with varying kinds of needs, they can also register. We do have a very robust release system that is ensuring that every person affected by the explosive volcano would have some kind of relief coming their way. So once again, we are grateful and thank you very much. It is my pleasure to be on the GBN platform to share on behalf of this undertaking here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
And we know that you've had a very busy schedule, and we really appreciate your taking the time. Mr. Joseph, as we wrap it up this evening, Mr. Joseph, as we wrap it up this evening, what would you like to say to the people of Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, as we respond to our brothers and sisters in St. Vincent?
Well, I think the two persons who spoke before me clearly identified, what the needs are. All I can ask is that persons out there who are in a position to do so, even though I emphasized that cash was very important, but if they have other things that they would like to donate, Superintendent McIntyre have spelled it out. I do have a list which is consistent with what he said. But those, who can give, we are able to store them. As I say, we do have an opportunity to ship on Friday. So persons who would like to donate, they can contact me or any other member of the Rotary Club. And we will be quite happy to arrange, to get the things into storage and send it over to St. Vincent. So thanks for giving us the opportunity. I am really appreciate it. And, I do hope we will be able to make a difference in the lives of the people of St. Vincent.
Thank you so much. And this evening, we'd like to say thanks sincerely to our panelists. Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. He joined us for the first segment of the program. He's had a very busy schedule, and we are grateful that he spared us some time this evening. Mr. Colvin Harry, the program manager, NBC Radio St. Vincent and the Grenadines. At this point, I'd like to say a special good evening to all our media colleagues, especially Colita Oliver. Colita, we hope that you're holding strong and rocking steady. Kenton Chance, we see you on the battlefield. Keep up the good work. Colvin, we know that you have not had any sleep, and we say, please say good evening to your manager, to all of the stations in St. Vincent and Grenadines as well, which have been carrying the program. We thank you sincerely. Superintendent Sylvan McIntyre, he's on assignment on behalf of CDEMA in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we're so happy as a Caribbean people we can share resources when the need arises. And our distinguished president of the Rotary Club of Grenada, Mr. Henry Joseph, always on the ball doing humanitarian work. Mr. Joseph, we salute you and the team at the Rotary Club. We understand that another shipment is leaving Grenada through another set of organizations tomorrow, and so you can continue to contact the officials who are making those shipments possible. The Rotary Club is leading the charge and will send another shipment on Friday. Here at the GBN, I would like to say a very special thank you to the team who continued to rise to the challenge on every occasion. As mentioned at the start of the program tonight, we had a program lined up to talk about the impact of COVID-19 on Grenadians in the diaspora. Our panelists, one of the panel members did not actually get the memo that it had been postponed and had logged into the feed, but we have promised that we'll do a special edition on Wednesday of this week so that we can still have that conversation, because there's a memorial service that is taking place on Sunday. We want to look ahead at that and how COVID-19 has impacted our people abroad. And I would like to particularly thank Mrs. Janelle St. Bernard MacDonald, Mr. Mike Alexis, who really worked hard today to gather members of this panel, to put the panel together and to have the footage that we shared with you this evening. They did a tremendous job, and I just want to tip my hat in their direction this evening. Thank you, Janelle. Thank you, Mike. To Darius Slocum and Mr. Kellen Batiste on the technical side, Sharon Blackman, Stephen, and all of the crew in the newsroom, we say thank you. God bless you. People of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, we the people of Grenada, Carriacou, Petite Martinique, all of us in the Grenadine chain, we say we are with you and we shall not forget you. We shall rise to this occasion, because on occasions you have come to our assistance. On behalf of Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Dr. Keith Mitchell, members of the government of Grenada, the people of Grenada, we say hold tight. As Bob Marley said, every little thing is going to be all right. So long for now. I'm Odette Campbell. See you again on Wednesday for a special edition of Beyond the Headlines. I'll see you around.